Okay, so I'm back. I had to redo this because basically, the music was drowning out my last live stream that I was doing. Apologize to anybody that was listening and couldn't hear me. So I'll go back into what I was talking about, in the last subsequent live stream. Basically, I was talking about a conversation that I had with a friend not too long ago about, giving advice, asking for help, receiving help, stuff like that. And what she was saying was something that was simple, that she basically, goes off of her own instincts and, doesn't really, care to take advice from a lot of, different people, which is fine. I get that. But then I started thinking to myself, you know, as anybody, who are we sometimes to try to give advice to people, especially if they're not ready to receive it, especially if they have a different view of how they do their thing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, can't help everybody. Everybody, advice is not good for everybody. What may be good for one person is not good for the next. There's no cookie cutter approach to how to live life. There's no one set formula to, how a person should live. And sometimes when you're trying to help somebody, just because you were helpful to one person in a great way, with some kind of advice, with a prayer, with just, spending time with the folks, maybe that's not the way, they want to take things. And sometimes it's not even about giving advice. Sometimes it's just about being there. Sometimes you could be sitting in a room with somebody and keeping them company, when they have a lost loved one, or they're sick, or, the boyfriend or the girlfriend of somebody left them. Sometimes people just need you to be there, you know. Sometimes we're so caught up in what we think we can do for a person and how we feel like we can help somebody, or we tell them to read this book or watch this video or think this thought. Sometimes, the best thing I've learned, especially in the last couple of years, is the best thing we can do is listen. First listen to understand, then listen to be understood. That's what I heard. Somebody say, I forgot the quote. And I think too many times, we're just waiting to talk and waiting to give our perspective instead of understanding what people are going through first. Because I can easily, get with one of my friends or meet a stranger and try to give somebody advice. But sometimes it's good to just listen to where people are coming from, understand what folks are really going through, what's going on in their lives and what they're struggling with before we start deciding, that we have all the answers to somebody's particular situation. Because, realistically, we may not. And just because you may have an idea or a thought or an opinion or some advice doesn't mean it's always good. So that's what I was talking about in the last live stream, which is this live stream now. And I think listening to where people are coming from, you find out how you can help them, if you should help them. Sometimes all we really need to do is listen. Sometimes, you're just coming from a place where folks, are venting. I don't like to just have people come to me and vent and not really try to find solutions to that. But realistically, folks need to be heard. And sometimes, when folks are giving advice or, taking advice, you realize it could be a one-sided affair. And also, too, I had to be reminded by the old timers just recently, that folks don't like to be talked down to. It's like, talk to me. Don't talk at me. You know what I'm saying? See me as an equal. Don't look down on me. Don't be condescending. I've had ex-girlfriends who said that too. I mean, I wasn't condescending to them, but I could see sometimes where the tone may have felt that way. And you take time out to listen, to understand where folks are coming from, where they're going through. Because a lot of times, people are not really going to listen to where you're coming from until they really know that you care about what they're going through and what's happening with their life. We like to give advice a lot of times, or, take advice in and not really understand the whole situation. Sometimes folks are quick to tell you how to live your life without really understanding where you're coming from and what's going on with you. And realistically, I just say to anybody out there that's trying to give advice, understand where folks are coming from first. Listen to their story. Find out what's going on. Hey again, Crimson. I see you again, man. I see you out there. Sorry about the audio issues and the music drowning out all the last time. But welcome back. you know, Basically, I'm just talking about giving advice and taking advice. A lot of times we may give advice without really understanding where folks are coming from. Yeah, happens all the time. There's a lot of issues sometimes with the YouTube and the music and all that stuff. But thank you for tuning in again. Me and you need to work together on something again, man. I appreciate that last project that we did together, on your channel. Anybody out there, check out Crimson Fantasy. Great channel. Great channel. Very creative dude, especially him and Granny Monster. They got the morning show. Check that out. Definitely, link up to him. Yeah, I gotta write some other stuff when I get a chance, because I actually did a movie review for The Dark Tower that I gotta edit when I get up this morning, and do all that. And then I got some other videos that I want to do, some poetry stuff. So I got a lot of different things that I'm trying to put together in this month. I was supposed to be slowing down, but that's another story. Yeah, but anyway, back to what I was saying about the whole, giving advice, taking advice. And then I say to anybody, taking advice, be sure that you're taking advice from somebody who's willing to understand you, who's willing to hear you out, who's willing to come from an objective point of view. Because a lot of times when, we're taking advice from certain people that we trust, they may come from their own limited scope, as opposed to just taking in different perspectives and trying to give you, different people's opinions or perspectives and coming to some kind of consensus. Usually what I found the best advice is the advice where folks are teaching you and trying to give you an option and choice on how to do your thing, as opposed to, I'm going to tell you this is what you're supposed to do. I'm going to tell you this is how you're supposed to live. It's like, no, you give me the options before me. You tell me the consequences and repercussions, and you let me decide for myself. That's the best advice I've usually found. Some of the worst advice I found is when people tell you, this is the option that you need to do, and if I was you, this is the way it needs to go down. What you're saying, Crimson? You say, yeah, I like people that show perspectives and not force it on you. Yeah, true. I mean, nothing should ever be forced on you. I mean, listen, everybody has an opinion. Everybody should be allowed to speak, especially if it's something, positive and conducive to, your life, and that's going to help you in upbuilding. Even sometimes you hear the negative side of it. You want to know people coming from, in a different perspective. But too many times, I think folks are not taking the time out to just hear each other, because, that is like just hearing each other is half the battle. Just listening to what people are saying and what folks are going through, you'll figure out whether or not you should be in a situation trying to give advice in the first place. And then on the flip side, if you listen to people just trying to give advice, you'll know whether or not it's worth even taking advice from them. If people are not coming from an objective point of view and they're just looking at it from their narrow perspective, then maybe you shouldn't be taking advice from that person. Maybe you should back up. What I'm saying? If folks don't have your best interest in mind, then maybe you should, kind of politely, or maybe not so politely, tell folks, to kick rocks, but sometimes you say, who are we, when somebody's going through a traumatic situation, be it somebody, who's a rape victim or somebody who was just kidnapped, who am I to try to give them advice, especially if neither one of those things have happened to me. So it's best to listen to what a person is going through, be it your friend, be it your family, be it your coworker, be it, a lover, a mistress, whoever. I say it's important to pay attention to find out whether, you're a person that needs advice from that particular person, or whether you should, be giving advice to any particular person. I think it's best to understand where folks are coming from. And that's what it is. Yeah. Oh, wait up. You just made a guest cameo in my new music video coming? Okay. Oh, wait up. I made a guest cameo. How's that possible? That's funny. Listen, I'm all for working with you, Crimson. It's no problem. Anybody out there that wants to work with me on anything, creative, you can hit me up on YouTube or Google Hangouts, G Plus on Twitter while I'm still on Twitter. Like I said, I thank you for the 2 people that are watching now. What I'm saying? It's all a beautiful thing. But again, like I said, just to reiterate, as far as giving advice and taking advice, it's always best for the parties involved to hear each other and get each other's perspective, see where folks are coming from, actively listen, ask questions about the things that folks are telling you. If you hear something that's, controversial, or something that's hard for folks to deal with, or something that, people don't really want to talk about, then you back off. Because I found myself in situations where I wanted to give somebody advice or give them help, and they don't want it. And I say to anybody, don't force yourself on somebody. And then also too, who you're taking advice from. Listen to people. If you find a person is selfish or insensitive or they hate people, unless you want bad advice, pay attention. A lot of times when you pay attention, you'll know, whether or not that's a situation you should be in as far as helping persons that you're dealing with or being helped by people that you may want help from. And that's what it is. What do you say, Crimson? He said, yeah, because a lot of people hear, but they don't listen. So it's good if both parties are listening so you could come to a common ground. Yeah. And I think that's what happens with, advice, as far as taking it, giving it. And you have to listen if you care. And when you say, Crimson, you say, and yeah, you can help someone that can't help themselves. Yeah. But also, too, if you're not listening, you won't know if that person is really not trying to help themselves. And it's a situation where, we just have to listen to each other more. We have to just, really understand where folks are coming from. I mean, you don't have to do it, but we should. We should. If you really want to help folks, if you really want to be helped in certain situations. And also know that it takes patience. It takes time, especially when you're giving advice, when you're taking advice. Sometimes, the advice that people may not be willing to hear from you today, may be something that they're receptive to tomorrow. You never know what a person is going through in their personal struggles in life. You never know what a person is really fighting with, what inner demons, what angst or immoralities or just, idiosyncrasies are going on with them. It's a lot of things that we face in life that we struggle through, that we go through. So, I'm saying, be kind, be gentle, be patient with people. I'm saying? Don't be mad at the person if they don't want to take advice from you and you have good advice. Because if you have good advice and you really care about the person that you're trying to give advice to, then you'll be willing to be patient with them. You'll be willing to come around to them, when they, just leave the olive branch out there for folks to do that. What you say, Buck? Buck Store says, yeah, that's true. You never know what a person is going through. Yeah, Buck, it's real. You never know what a person is going through. Just because, people are putting on a smile doesn't mean they're always good. I remember my brother told me, hopefully he ain't mad at me for saying this, but he was saying that sometimes, people could smile and behind that smile, you hiding a lot of pain, So, I mean, you never know what a person is going through. A lot of times we tell each other that everything is okay to save face, like the Chinese do, they save face. And the reality is sometimes you don't want to let people know what you're going through. Sometimes you're not looking for people to give you advice and try to give you help. Sometimes you want to just have those moments where you're alone, where you just, need to, sit down and just cry or sulk or do whatever you do. I mean, I say to those folks, still try to be around folks and don't let yourself go into a depression. But everybody goes through stuff. Well, so you said, Crimson, you said I did that a lot before I took my break off and I was just worn out. Yeah, people get worn out. And just know that sometimes it's a situation where people need to be left alone. That's why I tell anybody out there, look, even if I don't speak to you or I don't see you or whatever, I still wish you all the best. I don't wish you no harm. Hopefully you get through it. But the olive branch is always there. I say to somebody, if you really want to help somebody, if you're really a friend, if you really care about them, you know what, you leave that olive branch out. But sometimes people just need their space. And that's really what it is. The best thing is not to force yourself on a person, because sometimes if you do that, you can push a person away. And modestly self-efface or be realistic with yourself. Sometimes we'll push people away by trying to give advice and give help and not know. Like I said, me personally, I'm an over analytical type of person. Sometimes I get on the phone with somebody or I'll be talking to somebody and I'm asking questions and analyzing the situation that they don't want to be analyzed. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes you got to ask permission to, even, try to, ask those questions and start analyzing people's lives and start trying to solve their problems. Sometimes when you're talking to a person, all they really want you to do is listen. That's it. They don't want your advice. It's not a situation where you're trying to go through a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, we say, Buck, he said, man, this dude on my block just killed himself last week and nobody knows why in front of the school, but everybody says he was cool. That's true. Listen, you never know what a person is going through, Buck. I mean, you're thinking people are cool, they're laughing, they're smiling, they're joking with you, and then the next thing you know, they go, drown themselves in a river somewhere, or, maybe they're facing a terminally ill disease and they don't tell anybody about it. I've had family members just go through stuff like that. They die and then tell nobody they were sick and stuff like that. But what was you going to say to them? What was you going to comfort them with? So sometimes when a person is going through it, and they just really not ready to open up, what could you do? What could you do? Oh, what's up, Free Music? Advice is always taken best if it is asked for. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you, Free Music. The best advice is when it's asked for. I totally agree with that. Because even if you have an answer to a situation, even if you know exactly what a person is going through, it's bad advice if you force it on a person. So I just, like Buck said, he agrees with you too also. So I agree with you, Free Music. I mean, let people know that you're willing to listen, if anything, and not be judgmental about it and not tell folks what they ought to do. But at the same time, like Free Music said, look, man, it's best when folks come to ask for it. But also, too, don't be in a situation where you standoffish or you judgmental or you making folks feel inadequate, like you're going to judge them. Because I've been in situations, too, like that, where folks feel like you're going to judge them, so they don't want to talk to you. They don't really care about your advice. And you can have great advice. You can have something that's like life-changing and transformative. But folks don't want to deal with you because they feel like everything you do or say or whatever is gonna, it's gonna be put under the microscope, under scrutiny. So yeah, again, like I said, what Free Music said, look, man, it's best when folks ask for it. I mean, my thing is, pay attention to what folks are telling you, and also be honest too. Even if a person is asking you for advice, and you don't feel comfortable giving that advice, or this is a situation you're not too familiar with, be honest. Yeah, Free Music says it is also very important to know when to shut up, notice when your words are not being listened to. Yeah, that's true too. And I've had to learn that the hard way over time, because you may have a point that you want to say. He said, oh, you're talking about Free Music? Yeah, free Music always keeps it real. Yeah. My thing is just like what Free Music is saying, know when to be quiet, know when to shut up. There's times when I've made my point and I'm trying to reiterate for the fifth time, for the sixth time. And, the other person on the end is like, look, dude, I get the point. But you you want to give them like a dissertation and an essay and a book, and all this other stuff that they don't need. And it's like, yeah, you're overdoing it. Because the thing is, you don't want to scare a person away. And when a person comes to you or whoever you are, whatever, and they're actually asking for advice, he's like, Free Music said, yeah, I've done that. When a person comes to you and they're asking for advice, you have to understand that that's a big step. Because a lot of people don't like to ask for advice, especially if they feel like they can handle something themselves. They don't like to ask for help, because they may feel like, a person is going to judge me, or they're going to laugh at me, or they're going to look down on me. And the reality is, sometimes people do. Sometimes people do look at you like, well, why didn't you know that? Or I learned that when I was a teenager or something. And the reality is, you don't know what people went through. You don't know how people were raised. You don't know what their background was like. You don't know what situations they were going through, or they are, currently going through. So it's like, it's best to be objective, open-minded, to be honest, about, those situations when, people come to you, or it's a situation where you should seek advice. And I say to somebody, be honest with yourself when you going to seek advice. If you're not ready for it, hey, what's up, Eagle VP? I see you out there, man. I need to get with you about that interview, man. You just hit me up with the times that you're ready and available, because I'm about to get off in under another minute off this live stream. But basically, I was just talking about Free Music says hi, Keith. But basically, I was just talking about taking and giving advice. Just being objective in the whole situation. Both sides need to listen to each other and understand where they come from. Yeah, but Eagle VP, just give me the times that you're available, and I'll give you the times that I'm available. I'm usually off Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, hey Keith, Free Music. That's what Crimson says. Yeah, so I appreciate you folks for being on here. But again, just to wrap this all up, Free Music says, hey, Crim, but basically y'all could all see this, in the chat. I keep forgetting you could all see this in the chat. But I appreciate all you folks for coming on and checking me out on this live stream. And like I said, again, when it comes to giving advice and stuff like that, or taking advice, just be open-minded, honest, objective, non-judgmental. Eagle VP says usually Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay, okay, so maybe we could do something. But let me get out of here because I already spoke a lot longer than I wanted to. And thank you for everybody for watching, for tuning in. Thank you for the folks on the playback. Let me know if you would like to hear some more live streams. Also to the folks in this live stream now, let me know if there's any topics and things that you want to talk about, because I'm willing to talk about it all. So anybody and everybody in this live stream, if you forget, you can say it in the upload after this, the broadcast. If it's anything you want to talk about, anything you want to discuss, let me know. I'm more than willing to talk about it. I'm more than willing to discuss it. And now I have to go at 3 a.m., almost 4 a.m. in the morning to get some rest and talk about fake subs. We can do that. Next live stream for you, Free Music, I will talk about fake subs in the best way possible. Okay, later.